So my name is Helen Turner, and I'm actually not going to talk to you today about a specific course that I worked on, but rather this implementation in the School of Interiors that is supposed to facilitate online learning in multiple courses within our program. So within design education, we actually have two components, one that is very skill-based and the other that is very technical. So we have to be able to teach students how to find codes and apply building codes, but also how to sketch and how to draw and how to create a construction document. And because of these things, and because there's so much involved in the stuff that we teach, we as professors, and I'm sure most of you actually have a lot of individual resource collections. You have things that you've collected based on your area of specialization, but you don't often share those with people unless you ask one another. So the idea for this design drive was to sort of create an online encyclopedia of all of those resources that our faculty have collected throughout the years and that the industry is continuing to produce as technology changes and as the industry changes. And so I'm going to sort of walk you through the process of creating this sort of online encyclopedia. And what we are currently in the process of doing is creating the beta version. And this is to hopefully be able to test against students and to see what's working. So to create this the beta version, I assembled a team of faculty, students, specialists, and industry partners, sort of asking them, do you think this would be useful? How do we go about doing this? I am not necessarily even technologically savvy. So we needed all those people. And what we really determined is that in order to create something that was successful, we needed to understand the types of things that were going to be stored on this, how people would see it, and then how people would use it. So thinking about user interface and user experience. In terms of the types of things stored, the first part of our process was to really delve into a lot of the topics that our program covers and all of the things that are necessary for our students to eventually get licensure. And you can see on the screen there's some of the topics. Then we started to mind map these to see how they would start to organize themselves. And you can see along the top that there are some main categories and how they start to eventually break down into subcategories. And this is what we're going to start researching. This is the content we wanted to put on this website. This is a mess. My graphics are a mess. So we actually decided to then just focus on two things so we could focus on them very well and get a depth of knowledge as opposed to getting a breadth. So we focused on research and programming and model making by hand to get a variety of resources. And then we started to think about how people would see it. So we did a lot of research on web design. We also did a lot of research on psychology and perception and experience of online, as well as users. So there was a whole lot of research that we did. And that ultimately led to two sites, actually. One I created in Canvas. This is the link. I can send it out if you all are interested in seeing it. But I created a site in Canvas thinking that if we could use the existing LMS here at the University of Kentucky, it would be easy to interface with our courses. And this is what it looks like. So I created it in Pages, and it sort of functions like a website. But this is where a lot of the content on those topics is started to store. And we're going to talk specifically about this research and programming. But the idea was that if someone in history, for instance, someone created a video about concrete, right? This is something that we talk about a lot in interiors. It could be cement, it could be concrete, but this video could then be used by a whole host of other courses. We could talk about it in history and when it was invented in ancient Rome and how it was used to change the built environment, in addition to thinking about it in terms of construction and the potential that it has, as well as how it's produced as a material and how it's used. So in terms of adding this information into courses, this is an assignment checklist for the first research and programming phase of our thesis studio. So you can see that that's the information that they're required to have for their project. Then if they came into the design drive and clicked on the research and programming tab, all of the links and information associated with those deliverables, they could come in here and find. So we started to build those, and this is just an example. You could link to something like this. So we were thinking that the links within this could be to external sources, it could be the videos that we create, it could be a handout. So it could be a whole host of resources that would help them develop their projects. And in the end, what this did for us in this course specifically was allow students to create something like this, where they're starting to understand context and demographic and building information, as well as theories and things associated with their project. And the hope is then that this information, these resources, don't die with the course. They don't end when the course ends at the end of the semester, but rather it's something that they can continue to go back to throughout their time in the program, but also as they move into the professional world. Thank you.